It's funny how sometimes the biggest threats are the ones that have been hiding in plain sight the entire time. Today, we're going to unravel a really fascinating scientific detective story about a parasite that for decades was completely misunderstood, all because it had a case of mistaken identity.
So, let's just start with this question. Imagine there's a medical mystery, and you've got a suspect who's always at the scene of the crime. The only problem is, for years, they've been wearing a perfect disguise. Well, that is pretty much the exact story of a parasite called Echinococcus orthelpi.
See, for the longest time, scientists were pretty sure they knew what this thing was. They just called it the cattle strain of a more well-known tapeworm. It had a label, genotype G5. It was just, a slight variation. But as we're about to find out, a closer look at its DNA revealed it wasn't a variation at all. No, it was a completely different species hiding out under the wrong name.
And that brings us right to our first section here, a classic case of mistaken identity. We're going to look at how this parasite went from just a simple genotype to being recognized as its own unique species. And honestly, this was a total game changer.
Okay, so let's quickly place this guy on the map of life, so to speak. As you can see, it's an animal, a type of flatworm, and more specifically, a cestode, which is just the scientific name for a tapeworm. Now, finally giving it its own proper name, Echinococcus ortleppi, was absolutely crucial. It meant that researchers could finally start tracking it properly and understand its unique threat to public health, separate from its relatives. Let's break down this term you'll see a lot: metazoan endoparasite. It sounds complex, but it's really not. Metazoan just means it's a multicellular animal, not a single-celled protozoa or bacteria. An endoparasite? Well, that means its entire life cycle, everything it does, happens inside another organism. And that very complexity is why it can be so dangerous.
All right, so how does this thing actually live? Well, its survival hinges on an incredible two-host journey. It's a life cycle that is perfectly, and kind of terrifyingly, adapted to a predator-prey relationship.
Take a look at this. It's a perfect loop. On one side, you have what's called the definitive host, usually a dog, which is where the adult tapeworm lives. And on the other side, you have the intermediate host, which is usually cattle. That's where the parasite's larval stage grows. The entire system is built to shuttle the parasite from the prey animal to the predator.
So here's exactly how it works. Step 1, an infected dog sheds literally thousands of microscopic eggs out into the pasture. Step 2, a cow comes along and accidentally eats those eggs while it's grazing. Step 3, and this is the key part, those eggs hatch inside the cow and form these big, fluid-filled sacs called hydatid cysts in its organs. Finally, the cycle starts all over again when a dog eats those infected organs. It is a simple, brutally efficient system.
So that's the natural cycle. But what happens when we, as humans, accidentally stumble into the middle of all this? Well, that's where we come in. For the parasite, we are a biological dead end.
The thing is, we get infected in the exact same way as the cattle. Maybe we pet an infected dog and don't wash our hands, or we eat contaminated produce. The parasite doesn't care. It hatches inside of us and forms those same cysts. But here's the twist. Because dogs aren't, eating us, the parasite's journey stops there. We become an unwilling and final host.
So what happens when it's inside a person? Well, for a long, long time, pretty much nothing. These cysts grow incredibly slowly. I'm talking 10 years or even more, with zero symptoms. The problems only start when a cyst gets big enough that it physically starts pressing on nearby organs. And while the liver and lungs are the most common spots, these things can end up basically anywhere: the spleen, the kidneys, even the brain.
And this is where it can get really, really dangerous. If one of these cysts bursts, it floods your body with parasitic material, and your immune system can just go haywire. It can trigger this massive overreaction that, in the worst-case scenario, leads to life-threatening anaphylactic shock. It really is a silent invader with a potentially explosive outcome.
Okay, so if this thing is so stealthy, how on earth do you even find it, let alone fight it? Well, that is where modern medicine and some clever diagnostics come into play.
Finding this parasite is usually a two-step process. First comes the imaging. An ultrasound is often the first tool doctors use to spot a cyst. But just seeing a cyst isn't enough. You have to know what it is. That's where the lab comes in. Blood tests can find the antibodies your body makes to fight it, and for the final confirmation, molecular tools like PCR can actually read the parasite's DNA and say, with 100% certainty, yep, this is Echinococcus orthelpi.
All right, so once it's diagnosed, what do you do? Well, it really depends.
If a cyst is small and inactive, doctors might just watch and wait. But for active, growing cysts, the options range from powerful antiparasitic drugs to surgery. Now, what's interesting is how this plays out in a place like the Netherlands, where the parasite isn't common. The treatment is the same, but finding it is different. Most cases are imported, which means a patient's travel history becomes one of the most important clues for doctors.
Now, you might be thinking this is some rare, isolated problem, but that's not the case at all. Echinococcus ortleppi basically has a global passport, and its spread is tied directly to how and where we raise livestock.
And this table gives you a fantastic snapshot of where it is. I mean, look at South America, a classic hotspot in the big cattle ranching countries. Over in Asia, it's what they call an emerging zoonosis, which is just a way of saying it's a disease on the rise that's jumping from animals to people. It really is a worldwide parasite, found anywhere that its life cycle can get a foothold.
So after all that, there's some really good news. Because we understand its life cycle so perfectly, we know exactly how to stop it. The key is to just break the chain. That means deworming dogs regularly, making sure they can't eat raw organs from livestock, and just practicing good old-fashioned hand washing. It's surprisingly straightforward. And looking to the future, there's even more hope. This is really cool. Scientists are working on vaccines, not for people, but for the livestock. By vaccinating the cattle, we could potentially stop the parasite from ever forming cysts in the first place. I mean, think about it. You could shut the whole system down right at the source. It would be a total game changer.
Just so you know, all the information for this explainer was put together using a Gemini deep search to go through a whole range of scientific sources. And hey, if you're a science nerd like me and you want to go down the rabbit hole yourself, we've put a full list of all our sources into a Notebook LM document. The link is right down there in the description for you.
You know, the story of this one parasite is really part of a much bigger story, isn't it? It shows how something can be right in front of us for years, but we don't really see it for what it is. It really makes you wonder. With our powerful new tools and interconnected world, what other hidden threats are still out there, just waiting for us to finally find them?
What do you think about all this? It's pretty wild stuff. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed this deep dive and want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you. Thanks for watching.